guys, it's me, Shaw360, and this is our review for Chapter 8 from Jessica Jung's book, Shine. And this was a filler chapter, really. I mean, all it did was kind of button up the results of Chapter 7. And then there was like one super dramatic moment in Chapter 8, which we'll get into. But the main highlight of this chapter to me was finally figuring out why she named this book Shine. I mean, don't get me wrong, I feel like shine could be easily applicable to being a star. What does a star do? It shines. So I mean, you could say that the book is called Shine because it's about the life of a star. But there is one paragraph in chapter 8 which makes me feel like that is where the name of this comes from. So here is the conversation. Rachel, Mr. No says, speaking to me directly. I straighten up immediately. Yes, Mr. No? Why should we give you a second chance? My impulse is to look to Eugen, but I force myself to keep my eyes fixed on Mr. No. He only wants to hear from me right now. I take a deep breath, lifting up my chin. Because, I say, there's no limit to how brightly I can shine. That video is just a taste. If you give me a second chance, I'll work twice as hard and shine twice as bright. Give me 3 chances and it'll triple. And I know there's no one who can do this better than me. Wow. Like I said, you gotta have a certain level of narcissism to be a K-pop star, because I cannot imagine telling somebody no one can do this as good as me. I mean, don't get me wrong, self-confidence is great and you should have confidence, and if you know you're the best, you probably shouldn't be afraid to say that you're the best. But I'm just gonna tell you now, balls of steel versus being full of your fucking self, I feel like this was more of a full of your fucking self, because this is a statement she makes after barely staying in DB Entertainment. So you remember the last time Rachel saw Mr. No, she had vomited on Jason Lee's shoes, had a terrible dance audition, like everything was going wild, right? So this video of her and Jason goes viral singing together. Not the throw up one, but the other one. And the executives at DB Entertainment, Mr. No, some lady, some guy, another guy, they're all sitting in judgment of Rachel whether or not she should even stay in the program, which, I mean, I don't blame them. She probably shouldn't stay in the program. And they bring up a lot of very salient points. Number one, her vomiting audition is the worst audition they have said they've ever seen. Salient point. They talk about the fact that her media training classes, for years, she has been doing terrible in them. Salient point. And part of your job as being an idol is you have to be able to perform, right? So it's just not going good for her, and it seems like she's on her way out of the company. And then this one executive named Mr. Han is like, wait, let me show you the magical audition that the public is screaming over. And so they play the tape of her and Jason singing at the secret idol dating club, and all of a sudden members of the board start weeping because it's so beautiful. And then they say, you know what, maybe we can give her a second chance. And then Rachel, I guess, is like feeling pretty confident she's going to stay in the company, but Mr. No is like, hey, why should I keep you here? She gives him this speech right there, right? And then Mr. No is about to walk off, and she's like, does that mean that I get to stay in the company and do the duet with Jason? Listen, balls of fucking steel this Rachel girl has. She doesn't ask just about staying in the company. She asks if she gets to do the duet with Jason. And at this point in the game, if it was me and they're like, we'll take you back after you being a shitty variety star and you having a terrible audition and you not training nearly as hard as the other people, if they said, I'm going to let you stay, do you really think I'd give a fuck about doing a duet with Jason when I'm like glad I got to keep my job even? And so Mr. No's like, yeah, you're gonna get to do the song with Jason, no big deal, we like you. But we did told Mina that she was gonna get it, so like Mina's gonna do it too. It's gonna be a throuple. And, to her credit, Rachel doesn't complain any further because she really doesn't have a leg to stand on. So she doesn't go back and be like, hey, I thought it was going to be me and Jason. The public only wants us two. No, she's like, I'm fine with Mina too, whatever. So she's so happy that she goes by Dunkin' Donuts and buys a smoothie and some donuts for her sister, Leah. And when she gets home, her mom is in the living room and her mom is PO'd. And Jessica thinks that her mom might be upset about the viral video, I guess. No, her mom is upset because someone sent her the video of Rachel, going wild at the trainee house, drunk, clothes wet, dancing, doing teenager stuff. And this is my thing. And follow me, tell me if you feel this way. When I read the chapter where Mina was filming Rachel, where Mina was filming Rachel in a drunken stupor, I remember thinking she's going to use this video to send to the executives at DB so that they kick Rachel out of the trainee program. That was my thought. When Rachel's video goes viral, my other thought was, well, she might release this on the internet to ruin Rachel's life. I mean, Mina's supposed to be evil. That'd be some evil shit to do. Instead, she sends it to Rachel's mother. Now, I don't know. Maybe this is just because I'm a mom myself and I remember what it was like to be a teenager of a mother, like my mom's teenager. Me and my mom were fairly close. Not as close as some people are, but I felt comfortable talking to my mother about real things. I think if my mother had been sent a video like that and it was about me doing something maybe I didn't have permission to do or me displaying disappointing behavior, me and my mother would talk about it, but she wouldn't uproot my life because she saw a video like that. Like, that would be a very extreme response. That's not the way they write Rachel's mom in here. Rachel's mom is like, you can't be a K-pop trainee anymore. This is ridiculous. This business is toxic. I don't want this for you. We're leaving. And, Rachel does have a very valid kind of response to her mother's reaction. And it's a response that, like, I was reading it and thinking, yeah, I agree with that. Even though I don't necessarily like Rachel, I totally agree with this. So her mother wants to pull her out of, or her mother's yelling at her about getting drunk and going to the trainee house when she wasn't supposed to go to the trainee house. And so Rachel just finally tells it to her flat out. Maybe I wouldn't have to lie if you tried to be supportive for once. The whole reason we moved here was so I could train. But you act like this is just some hobby I've had for the last 6 years, I explode. You think I wanted to sneak out behind your back? I had to do it because of you and your rules. I had to give myself a fighting chance at being noticed by the execs. And I succeeded, by the way. Most parents would be proud that their daughter is going to be singing with Jason Lee in his next single. So I feel Rachel on this. If you told, because I'm assuming that Rachel's mother told Rachel they were all moving to Korea to support Rachel's career as a K-pop star. If there is an alternative reason why they moved back to Korea, it was not said. So I'm just going to assume it's about the K-pop star thing. If the family really did move to Korea in order for Rachel to become a K-pop star, why wouldn't you let her do the things she needs to do to be a trainee? Excuse me. Like, I get it. If, as a mom, you feel like, well, you've got some talent, but I don't know if you have that kind of talent. I'll support you, but I'm not going to maybe change all of our lives behind it. But if you legitimately believe that it's worth uprooting your family, quitting your job, having your husband close his business, and taking your youngest out of her comfort zone in order to go to this other country, which is practically a foreign country to your children, in order for one of your children to pursue a dream, it just seems like you would sacrifice more for that dream to be accomplished. Am I wrong for that? Like, let's take it in a totally different arena. Let us assume that Stephanie is 5 years old and she displays a really significant talent at ice skating, to the point that, like, a nationally known ice skating trainer said, you ought to move to Wisconsin because your daughter has got talent. It's a talent like I've never seen, and if she's developed the right way, we could be talking Olympics. If I heard that from somebody who really is the type of person who would be able to spot that kind of talent, and then I decided to move my family to Wisconsin for my daughter to train, wouldn't it be silly of me if we got there and I'm like, oh, by the way, now that we're here, just so you know, she can only skate on the weekends. In the summer, she can't skate because there is no ice, right? And also, she needs to be enrolled in school full time and take tutoring classes. So, can you work around that and make her an Olympian? No. If I legitimately thought that my child had the opportunity to do something that great to where I'm uprooting my entire family, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to homeschool probably. I'm going to be with her on the road and doing schooling on the road. I'm going to try to find a job that allows me to work remotely so that I can be in all of these different places. Like I'm going to do more out of my own life sacrifices than my child is. Like my child may be sacrificing their childhood, which that's a totally different story. But if they want it and I know that they're capable of getting it and I'm willing to uproot my life to do it, why wouldn't we put our all into making this happen? Why would you uproot your family and move your daughter to Korea if you don't have faith that she can make it and you're not willing to let her to do the things that it takes to show that you can make it? And finally the mom says, listen, since they picked you to duet with Jason, you can do that. But if you don't debut in a group before the DB family tour, I'm pulling you out of DB as a trainee. And it just feels, this feels so contrived, and it feels like it goes against logic. And I'm certain at one point in the book we're going to get some backstory behind Rachel's mom that is going to be the reason why Rachel's mom didn't want her to do K-pop. If I had to guess, I'm going to guess that Rachel's mom at one point wanted to be a K-pop trainee, but maybe she met Rachel's dad and that's the reason why she didn't pursue that. Or, maybe, I don't know, Mr. No is actually Rachel's father, like some weird twist of fate of something to where like something in the mom's past closely relates to being involved with K-pop and she had a bad experience and that's the reason why she didn't want to pursue it. But the grandma was on her deathbed and she said, the only reason I'm going to leave you all this money is because Rachel wants to pursue her dreams and I know it didn't work out for you, but it's going to work out for her and you've got to believe in her. And that's the reason why the mom did this, even though she didn't want to. And the mom's got a chip on her shoulder because her mother didn't believe in her the way that she believes in Rachel. Like, I feel like some shit like that is gonna happen because this whole book is a fucking cliche. So why not let's just go whole hog with the cliche? Let's just go all the way through with it because that to me seems to be what makes the most sense. But yeah, I don't know why Mina would send the video to the mom when it would make more sense to just put it on the internet and ruin Rachel's life that way. I don't get why the mom is like, this one incident proves that you don't deserve to be a trainee and it proves that you should have never pursued this silly idea because, okay, another thing, Rachel is going to the Seoul International School, which is supposed to be the school where all the elite of Korea go to. And, it's a big deal and they're paying a bunch of money in order for her and her sister to go to this school. And the mom is like, college is a backup plan. But Rachel apparently doesn't give a fuck about school and is not even thinking about college. And I'm just assuming, maybe this is just me, I'm assuming that Rachel's grades probably aren't that great either. And so, like, the mom, I feel, has to realize, even though she's pushing for college and she's saying this is the next thing to do, she has to know Rachel doesn't want this. Rachel doesn't want this at all. And, like, even if you thought that college was a backup plan, have you talked to Rachel about what do you want to do when you get to college? Because it seems like Rachel is completely invested in K-pop. So if we are trying to push you need a backup plan, has she actually talked to Rachel about what the backup plan is? Like, if you go to college, what do you plan on majoring in? Like, my daughter's only in the 10th grade, but I ask her all the time, like, what do you want to go to college for? I personally think she should go to college for speech therapy. I think that'd be really great for her, but she wants to go for forensics. That's her deal. And I told her, fine, you need to bring up your science scores because there's a lot of science involved with forensics. And if your science scores are bad, don't think you're going to get into a good forensics program, which I think is reasonable advice. I don't think that's bullying advice. But yeah, I feel like as a parent, especially a parent of somebody who's supposed to be going to college the next year, these are conversations you should have. Like, you should have had the conversation, like, if this doesn't work out, what are you going to do next? What's the deadline we're giving to make this thing work out? Instead of all of a sudden being arbitrary and be like, well, this is just going to be over because I can't trust you because you got drunk one night. It's just, this is, ugh, ugh, I don't like it. I think it's dumb, and I don't know. I wish I could root for Rachel. Like, I feel like this conversation she had with her mom definitely felt very unfair because it feels like the mother is lying about something, but at the same time, it's just like this whole thing is so like freakishly absurd that it's really hard to get invested in it. So Sky Sapphire says, LOL, realistically, Rachel's mom would have been freaking out that her daughter isn't studying for entrance exams by now. Right? Like, she's upset that her daughter lied to her and said she was studying when she actually went to the trainee house. But, like, again, you should be knowing whether or not your daughter is getting ready for college. Like, you know how demanding the school system is in Korea. You should know whether or not Rachel's studying hard enough to get into college. And Rachel, I'm assuming that Rachel's not trying to get into one of the Sky universities. I'm assuming that what Rachel's trying to do is get into maybe Columbia or some other school back in New York, back in the United States. To me, that's what makes the most sense because her mom gives her the international college entrance form to fill out. So that makes me think that more than likely Rachel's not trying to go to school in Korea. She's trying to go to school elsewhere. And being at the Seoul International School, part of that is because it gives you the classes and training you need in order to go to school outside of Korea. That's my assumption. I don't know for sure because I really don't know that much about the school system in Korea. So don't quote me on what I'm saying here. But yeah, like if the mom really thinks that Rachel's going to be going to college next year, it seems like they would know that if she's ready, if she's got the grades, if she's been studying hard enough. I also think, now that I'm thinking back on Rachel's mom, she was mad about the trainee house in particular. I wonder if maybe the issue is that Rachel's mother, when she was a young volleyball player, got sexually assaulted at a trainee house back in the 90s. Because that would be something. That would make sense why she'd be like, I told you to never step foot in the trainee house. Maybe things go down in the trainee house, and that's the reason why she's like, I didn't want you involved with this. You know, maybe she was a young woman and she went into the trainee house and something terribly earth-shattering happened and it ruined her chances of her volleyball scholarship and ruined a whole bunch of other stuff. And that is the reason why she ended up hating K-pop. Oh, maybe what if, quiet as it's kept, Rachel's dad, the boxer, is not Rachel's real dad. Rachel's real dad is a K-pop star who was a trainee at the time, and he and Rachel's mom were dating, and Rachel's mom went to the trainee house with this guy where she was sexually assaulted and ended up becoming pregnant with Rachel, and then she lost her volleyball scholarship because she was pregnant, so then she had to totally change her life, and then she met the guy who ended up being the guy who raised her. And that's the reason why K-pop is like this thing where she's like, I'm giving you a chance because the talent runs in your blood, but I never wanted you to be involved with this kind of thing because I know how it ruined my life and it's gonna ruin yours too. That's my soap opera assumption here. I'm certain I'm wrong, but it's the only thing I can come up with to explain why her mom just hates K-pop so much, especially because like when we read Rachel's origin story chapter, she talks about how, like, after having a really traumatic incident as a kid, her mom gave her K-pop to look at to make her feel proud of being Korean. So in the back of her mind, in her heart of hearts, she must have some kind of affinity for K-pop. She must have some kind of passion for it, or at least at the very minimum, she must like K-pop. So why would her mom be so disdainful of the industry and the toxicity of it, but still like use K-pop as a way, a motivator, a tool to make her daughter proud of being Korean? You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I don't know. I don't know. Character motivations, backgrounds, common sense logic. It just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. And as Jessica being somebody who was involved in K-pop for as many years as she was, I feel like even if she had a ghostwriter write this story, she had to have read it through at least once and could have taken like a red pen and be like, this don't make sense, this is what actually would have happened, and then the person who's ghostwriting would have made the changes accordingly. Like, I'm not mad at Jessica if she didn't write this book herself. Like, if she used a ghostwriter to write this, that's fine. We all have our talents, and sometimes this ain't it. But if you are going to utilize a ghostwriter, why wouldn't you give the ghostwriter like just little pointers and tips and be like, okay, this is realistic, this is not realistic. You don't have to. Yes, people bought this book because they thought they were going to get the tea on SNSD. You don't have to deliver that if you can't. If there's an NDA or if there's a possibility of defamation or something like that, and there are certain specifics that if they got out there would be easily identifiable as to who you're talking about, I get why you would need to form an alias, change some details, change some pieces so that it's not like just spot on. But at the very minimum, I expect you to be real about character motivations. I expect you to be real about the actual consequences. And I expect you to be real about what people would do in these situations, because you've seen what people do in these situations. So I feel like it's super lazy to let some stuff that doesn't make logical sense slip up in there. That to me is dumb. So that's the way I feel, you know. But we're going to continue reading. I am certain that when Rachel goes back to DB, Mina's going to be like, did your mom have anything to say about your latest viral video? And it's going to be like, yeah, she did have something to say. She said good luck to me because she knows I'm going to whip your ass. Like something like that. Like that's the response I'm looking for. I'm looking for the response of, I hate you. Let's start pulling hairs. There's this video on the Twitter of this little girl. She's turning 3 and she's getting ready to blow out her birthday candle, and her sister blows out the candle instead. And she looks at her sister with like that kind of like, I know this bitch didn't. And then at 3 years old proceeds to put out that hand and snatch her sister by the hair and pull her to the ground. I'm telling you, sometimes the fighter in you is born very early on. But anyway, that's all I have to say about Chapter 8, because Chapter 8 really didn't have a lot going for it. I hope that I'll be able to do my live stream on Thursday, but I might have work Thursday evening, so let's keep it open. We'll see what we can do. We'll see what happens, but I'm hoping that that's what I'm going to be able to do. But outside of that, I would love to get your feedback in the comments of this video. I feel like I'm really falling behind everybody else who's read this book, and I wonder if maybe I'm going a little bit too slow. I thought that doing a chapter every other day would be good because I expected there to be a lot of content in each chapter, but each chapter is not really all that full. And so would it be better if I was to do 2 chapters every other day, or should I stick with 1 chapter every other day? I still want to keep it every other day because I can't review chapters every day because I have work and sometimes my work bleeds into the evening. But let me know if I should start doing 2 chapters every other day, or if I should just do 1 chapter every other day like I've been doing, because I wonder if maybe the story would be more fun if we did it 2 chapters every other day. I hope it would be. I've had a couple people who read this in advance that have gotten further along in the book than I have, and they told me that it was a waste of time and they would like their money back. And so I have a feeling it's not going to get much better, but maybe it'll be nice to have more to talk about when we're having these discussions. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Actually, you know what? I might do a live stream right after this, so talk to you later. Bye.